my YouTube video today. I'm actually going to be talking about quite a few books that I was able to collect in the Dollar Tree. As you guys can tell, this is probably the third video that why am I doing two? The third video that I've actually made of this. So yeah, this is just kind of what I did. I know I didn't do it for the last month. I really didn't get a chance to stop by my local Dollar Tree store, but this month I was able to go on ahead and check it out. So yeah, so the very first book that I have here is Expectations of Happiness right here. And this one is actually by Rebecca Ann Collins. Now, for those who don't know Rebecca Ann Collins, she does do a lot of renditions of the Jane Austen books. She's like a huge fan of hers, and she basically does kind of like this particular book, for example, is a continuation. So it's kind of like the next step. If you were to hope that Jane Austen made the next book of Sense and Sensibility, then this would be it. But yeah, so this basically says a companion volume to Jane Austen's Sense and Sensibility, which is what I was mentioning right now. So yeah, so this is kind of the little continuation of their lives, and then this is how it looks here in the back. A lot of people that I've noticed, they've really gotten really good reviews on this particular author. I believe that the way that she writes is very, very similar to Jane Austen, so that's why a lot of people really enjoyed her books. So when I saw this, I was like, ooh, you know what, I might just like go on ahead. Now here's the thing, I have not read the Sense and Sensibility yet. I know I've read Pride and Prejudice, which that one I enjoyed. I know I actually did more of the audiobook though, because I was getting very, very busy, that I just decided, you know what, I need to get the audiobook and just read it. So I ended up just doing that for most part of the book. Whenever I did have the chance, I did read it, but it was more the audiobook. So I just want to give you guys that heads up on that. But for this one in particular, this book of Jane Austen's book of Sense and Sensibility, I didn't get a chance to read. But nonetheless, I'm kind of intrigued on this. According to what it has, of what it said on the website, as well as reading in the back and just kind of getting to know a little bit more the storyline, I basically got that this is back in the Regency era, and it is basically a continuation of how the Dashwood sisters all grew up basically. So you have Marianne's, I think it's Marianne's, but it's her basically past love comes back into her life after she basically rebounded and married a man who was much, much older than her. So that's her story about her and what's going on, the complexity of her relationship. And then next you have Eleanor and Edward. Now Edward ends up losing all his fortune, and now you have Eleanor and Edward basically kind of finding a little bit of resentment and stuff, and it's basically what they go through now that Edward has lost his fortune. So there's a lot of dynamics and everything kind of building up between both of them, and a lot of things do change between them. So another person too that we do have on here is Margaret. Now supposedly she's kind of starting to find love in this like love affair, and she's definitely getting a lot of unwanted attention. So that's what that story is about. So I think that the three sisters are basically going through a lot basically, and just to summarize this book, it's basically about sisterhood, loyalty, and finding love and happiness. So that's, if you guys are really into this, then this would be definitely a book you can try. This is a fiction book, so if you guys definitely, you know, are interested in this, definitely go check it out. But yeah, so that's this book that I found. So another book that I did find is actually this one. It is Sweet Forgiveness by Lori Nelson Spielman right here, and this one actually really intrigued me actually, because the way that I see this book right here, you basically have Hannah, who is a talk show host, and she basically has the little pouch with stones in it, basically these stones that actually come with a letter, and it's supposed to kind of show a lot of forgiveness and finding forgiveness or seeking forgiveness. So this talk show host has them, and she's kind of kept them a secret or kept them hidden away for 2 years, until you have the individual who actually made the stones in the letter herself. Now these stones in this letter was actually crafted and basically made by Fiona Knowles, which eventually comes to the talk show where Hannah is, and Hannah basically interviews her, and unexpectedly or unwillingly she actually kind of spills out a secret that Hannah has been holding in herself. Basically the falling of her relationship with her mother, mother, and she actually receives a lot of backlash from her fans herself. So basically fans begin to regret her, you have friends who actually doubt her, and then you even have the boyfriend who believes that she's basically ruining his career. And this is actually the mayor who she's dating privately. It gets very, very complicated for her. She kind of has to pull back, and then she finally embraces these stones, and she comes to the conclusion that she has to go and find basically forgiveness to try to figure things out with her mother. And actually her boyfriend doesn't agree with her, so he's not okay with her doing that, but she's going on ahead and trying to work things out with her mother. So yeah, this is basically a fiction, and it seems very, very intriguing about a mother and a daughter trying to find forgiveness. Really, it all comes down to that. And it's just the search of it. So if you guys would be interested in this is definitely really interesting. I know this is the second book this author has made, so yeah, definitely check it out. And the next book that I have here is actually from Nancy Thayer. This is actually called Summer Breeze right here, and she's from Nantucket Island in Massachusetts. But this storyline in general is basically a bond between three unlikely women who basically come together in this area called New England, Dragonfly Lake, during the summer. And basically one of the females is Morgan O'Keefe. She actually was trying to go for a science degree, but she kind of put that on hold to take care of her young son. You also have Natalie Reynolds, which she used to live in New York and actually ended up moving into Berkshire, basically to take care of her aunt's very large, beautiful home at Dragonfly Lake. And basically her neighbor, who's very handsome indeed, seems to be her most unlikely savior when her mother actually breaks her leg. So yeah, I think that's gonna kind of zone in on their relationship with her and her neighbor and where that may lead. Then you also have Bella Barnaby. She's actually from Austin, but she moves back with her very crazy family. Not necessarily crazy, but just very obnoxious and whatnot. Like, they tend to be very outspoken, very out there. But she moves back with them, and there's an architect who seems to have his eyes on her. And it seems like she's also kind of daydreaming about him as well. So it's also going to be about that dynamics as well. So you're going to see a lot of self-discovery, romance, temptations. This is definitely a fiction and romance book. So if you guys are interested in that, definitely go and check this out. So yeah, okay, so actually now we're going to start getting a little bit more serious with our books. So here I have the Dressmaker of, I cannot say this right, so I'm really, really sorry. But it's the Dressmaker of Khair and Khana, or Khana. Here it is, and this is actually written by Gayle. I'm not gonna actually do the whole name because I'm probably gonna really mess it up, you guys, but this is her right here. Now here's the thing, this is quite a mouthful, but this particular author is very, very knowledgeable in foreign affairs. And hold on, because I really need to actually look at my little notes that I have here because it is long, but I want to make sure I say it right. So she is a fellow and deputy director of the Women in Foreign Policy program at the Council of Foreign Relations. She is based off of Los Angeles, so that's actually what I got from her. So it is a mouthful, but I guess she does a lot of things of foreign affairs and everything. So just to give you guys kind of an idea of her knowledge. But this is basically a biography, and it's a biography of a woman who has to kind of stand up to the chaos that's going on. I guess the Taliban actually ended up coming into Afghanistan. It definitely takes over. Her brother and her dad, they were kind of forced to flee, and she was left with all her young siblings, and now she has to be the main breadwinner, and she has to figure things out to help support her family. So she does end up getting a sewing needle and some thread, and she actually is known for her dressmaking skills, and she basically saves the lives of her household just by being a dressmaker and having a thriving business. So that's what this is all about. It's basically about overcoming despair, and then also about war, about family and faith. So yeah, this is going to give you guys kind of an idea as to what a family basically goes through in Afghanistan during these troubling times. Sometimes we kind of get a little bit naive or too comfortable in where we're at. I know I'm here in the US, which But anyways, that's a different story. But I'm here in the US and there's been a lot ruckus going on here, but nothing compared to what's going on in other worlds and other countries. So sometimes you kind of take for granted what you have. But anywho, yeah, so if you guys are interested, definitely you guys can take a look at this as well and maybe even learn more about what the author actually does too. So yeah, another thing we have here, which now we're going to start getting into the thrillers. Okay, so if you're into fiction, thriller kind of thing, then this would be your cup of tea. Now this is from Pilkington. It's called The One You Fear, and he's actually an author from England. He's known for this is actually a trilogy book. So the very first book, this is actually the second book, but the very first book is actually The One You Love. This is The One You Fear, and I want to say the last one is The One You Trust. And this is the back here. I know I wasn't showing the back of all of them. So yeah, so this one actually is about Emma Holden. I guess there's something happened with Dan, who I believe was her fiance, who was kidnapped, and they basically are trying to live their lives after the horrifying events of that situation and everything surrounding it. So they're trying to move on from that, but then things kind of get a little sketchy after they realize something or they uncover something about the whole kidnapping and the whole situation and events that happened, which kind of makes them doubt, and now they're starting to realize, like, wait a minute, like, what is going on? And they now start to basically question a lot of the events and a lot of things that happen. Some new lives will be threatened basically in this second book, and more secrets become uncovered. So if you're really into fiction, thriller, a little bit of romance, suspense, and mystery, then this is your kind of book for sure. Again, this is from a trilogy book, so there is a 3 set. This is just the middle book, but if whatever you want to start with the very first one, you definitely can, and then go on to the second and third. But yeah, so this is really interesting. And now for the very last thing, which I consider it more of a little bonus book, because this book in particular, I was going to leave it, but then I was like, something about it, the storyline and everything, just kind of like, maybe I should kind of read it, you know? But this is from Paolo Giordano, and it's called Like Family right here. But yeah, this is kind of like it is. Now, if you guys ever think of like a surrogate family, you know, when you kind of become a family without really necessarily being blood related, this is kind of what this book is about. So you have Nora and her husband basically hiring Signora, which she is kind of like a nanny, and she's basically helping Nora during her difficult pregnancy. She kind of helps around the house and really becomes more of just a nanny to both Nora and her husband. Now, as their lives progress, you do have Signora, who ends up getting diagnosed with lung cancer, and everything basically changes. Eventually, Signora basically gets to the point to where she gets so sick that she actually cannot work anymore, which definitely sends Nora and her husband into a frenzy, because now they have to learn to do things without her and whatnot. So things get complicated, but it's not just that. It's the fact that they've definitely grew a liking so much to Signora, that she meant so much to them. So it's more than just the dynamics of what she provided for the family, which was a lot of like the nanny and the support and stuff like that, but also just in general, like she just meant so much to them, like an actual family member. That's why it's kind of more of like that surrogate family, because this nanny kind of becomes more than just the nanny. Okay, but yeah, it's just basically about life, relationships, and yeah, like the dynamics of a family and what it means to have different aspects of love towards somebody. So yeah, now this author is from Italy, and he was one of the youngest to actually win the Italian's prestigious literary award called Premio Strega. He actually has a degree in particle physics, so that's another thing, I think a PhD if I'm not mistaken. So he's very well known in that, but actually his reviews have been so good. I heard that he wrote another book as well that a lot of people were raving about. So yeah, I'm actually intrigued to actually read this one. This seems like a really sad story, but at the same time very intriguing. So yeah, this is another book as well. And that's actually all the books that I got in my Dollar Tree haul. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you guys did, definitely give this video a like. I would really appreciate it. Also subscribe if you want to see more content from me, and definitely click that notification button if you want to get notified every time I upload. So until next time, toodles!